Hello and welcome to Super Respectable. My name is David Lewis, and drinking some nice tea is Tosho Rahman. How are you, Tosh?
I'm good. It's actually coffee, but whatever. Bygones are.
Coffee.
Yeah, it's 2 o'clock in the
I guess.
morning where I am.
What time is it over there?
It's 2:32 a.m. So a little coffee boost just to kind of get me going for the next hour and a half, and then
Uh,
back to normal hours starting next week.
how does drinking coffee fit in with your sleep schedule at this hour?
I'm
Uh,
immune to it. It doesn't matter. I can
You're
still go.
immune.
I like coffee, so I could drink it all the time. Do you find that coffee keeps you up? Like the caffeine really does affect your
Oh
sleep?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. I have about three coffees a day.
nice.
Two in the morning and
Yeah.
then one in the afternoon. And then, for example, yesterday I messed it up. I had a coffee at like 4 o'clock, and that was a problem. I was
Really?
buzzing. I was buzzing late at night. Yeah.
Dave, for our listener in India, how do you like your coffee? What's your favorite way to have coffee? Or are you a mix it up? It doesn't matter, but is there a preference? How do you take it?
Here we have a nice George Clooney Nespresso machine, so I've been
Oh,
polluting landfills with all those capsules.
the capsules. Are they
But
expensive?
yeah,
Like the capsules?
relatively speaking, but if comparing to like a Starbucks or whatever it is people do,
Yeah,
it's so much cheaper.
yeah.
I think it's like 30 cents a capsule,
Oh, that's
20 to 40 cents a capsule versus like $5 for a frappuccino.
totally. There's I'm an Americano guy. I just like black coffee.
Yeah.
But I will have to say though, coffee is one of those things that I will spend more money on if it's good. I'm pretty like cheap in every other area, but
Mm.
good coffee is totally worth it. But
Yeah, I'm a coffee snob. I
yeah,
think since, well, living in Europe for such a long time, there's such a fantastic array of cool independent coffee places, and yeah,
roasters.
I've really taken a liking to these things, and I probably spent more money than I would like to admit on such things.
I think you should not feel guilty about that whatsoever. For me, food is something I never feel guilty of, whether we eat out, whether we order, or whether we buy stuff, because you got to eat, right? I mean, and might as well enjoy that. I mean, clearly, like
Yeah,
clothes are not a priority for me, and you, as I can tell. I'm
excuse me. This
just
is one of
joking.
my nicer sweaters.
I'm joking, but you know what I mean. Material stuff, I think you and I really don't
Yeah,
give a crap about. It's more about experiences, right?
experiences indeed. And coffee's everyone's drug of choice. Can't really go wrong with that one. The light buzz you get from it.
Love it, love it. And it's a beautiful day in the Netherlands today, Wednesday, the 12th. You have plans. You told me you're gonna go to the bar right after this, which is kind of early for alcohol, I think.
No,
No?
well, let's wait till
Oh,
the clock
okay, okay.
strikes 12
Oh,
somewhere,
okay.
and then it's fine.
Okay.
Because we have to make use of the time. It's only 12 till 6 that they're open, so we have to
Yeah,
maximize the consumption and boost the local economy after such a hard time for the
yeah, yeah.
um,
That's
industry.
that's a good marketing right there.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But no, it is very nice to have some sunshine and some warm weather because it's been pretty cold and miserable
Yeah,
for months on end.
yeah.
So yeah, some sunshine is very good, and I can see it's very sunny where you are in
San
the
Fran.
West Coast too, right?
Yeah, it's
Mm.
sunny. It's always like this and where I am, so it's good. I
Yeah,
was actually just looking. I was thinking, you should grow your beard back again. That looked really good last year when you had it going earlier this year for a while.
really.
Yeah, I think you should do it. Why not? But I mean, like, cut the hair and keep the beard. Like that's
Yeah, I can't have both. That's just out of control.
you
But
gotta
I
choose
think
one.
okay. Well, if you endorse it, then I'll do it.
I endorse it.
I'm just it's kind of depressing that I can't like get a nice full beard on though. I really let it go, and it was just kind of messy and
I thought you look
something
good.
you'd see for a 16, 17-year-old versus a
No, were you able to grow a full beard when you were 16 years old?
no, but like
Uh,
it didn't feel like the stubble you get from the 5 o'clock shadow or whatever it's called.
yeah,
I don't get that.
yeah.
It's like it's just not a nice beard. I don't feel like it's
I
the kind of thing you want
I
to show
think
people.
I get what you're saying. I think during COVID, one of the funny things I found was that I spoke with friends who I'd known my entire life, but had always had different facial hair. But during COVID, a lot of guys let their facial hair grow. So I saw some
Let
of
it
my
go.
friends with facial hair, with mustaches, with beards, with goatees. I'd never seen in my life, and it was like a weird thing, you know. For me, like I grow my beard, I shave it, I go through different phases. So I think most of my friends have seen me at different things. But I saw guys with like I didn't even know they could grow facial hair, you know, like, and so a lot of these guys had been like, I don't know. So like, I think it was a good experimental point.
But how come he didn't let your luscious locks flow down to
Yeah,
the?
I that yeah. I just
You could have had a good Big Lebowski look going. You have that nice.
like Jeff Bridges just walking around.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I've tried the long hair. I think, Dave, if anything, you need to be the friend that tells me, hey Tosh, it's time for a haircut. Because I always convince myself I can do it, but then it gets to a point where it's like it's too hard.
I'm not
Yes.
short on friends like that, so it's not
Okay.
a problem.
I think yeah, I gotta figure out. How about are you still exercising though? Now the weather is better. Are you still going for little runs?
Yeah, I do my routine. I got this. Actually, I don't think I'll be going back to the gym. The gym's open up again in a couple of weeks, but I've canceled my membership.
Ooh,
I go to the park for
nice.
runs. We have a chin-up bar here, which is quite dangerous, which will collapse any day now. And I do some home workouts, so it's fine. It's all good.
Awesome. You're staying good. You're staying active. So
Yeah, it's
hopefully,
important.
I feel like we're sort of as humanity coming more to the finish line of this thing. Hopefully, in the next couple months, maybe by the end of the year, this can be in our rearview mirror. But it looks optimistic on this end. I don't know how it is there, but I feel more
Yeah,
optimistic.
I do, but it's still challenging for our dear listeners in India and the subcontinent. So
Yeah,
thoughts and prayers for our listeners over there, and hope for
yeah,
your families and friends are all safe and healthy, and everything is all right. I know it's a very challenging time there.
of course.
So super respectable is thinking of you. Um, but yeah, it is quite jarring for me to see some of my friends in Canada get their jabs and take their obligatory photos with their arms. I got to work out my biceps to be ready for that photograph. The
The photo
vaccination
op.
pic.
Yeah. I have your folks or have your family gotten at least jab number one, if not jab number two?
Yes, my parents have had jab number one, and I think it's coming up very soon for the rest of the family. But in the UK, it's all gone quite well.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure most of my family's had first and second rounds of vaccinations there. So
Amazing.
well done, Brexit and Bojo.
What's is that what they call?
I don't,
Because I'm like that sounds kind of cool. So what's
yeah.
what's the game plan that like once everyone has or most people have vaccine one and two, is it sort of like going back to normal or is there like what's the game plan?
Free for all.
Free for
It's
just
the Roaring '20s, and it'll be
uh,
fun times. I think some people started saying, "Oh no, we need to keep restrictions," but
mhm,
good luck trying to keep everyone to
yeah.
that once everyone's had their double dosage.
I
I
think
don't
what
think that's realistic.
well yeah, I mean like I think I or we will probably just still maintain distance from people because that's not really a difficult thing for us anyways. Like parks are big and
Yeah, and I don't like people, so you don't want to get too close to them
yeah,
anyways.
one and two. And I don't mind wearing the mask too. I mean, if they tell us to just for another 6 months to get it, because I guess at the end of the day, the vaccine doesn't mean that you won't get it, right? The vaccine just means you might not be affected by it as significantly, or it's not 100% guarantee, right? It's just they're trying to keep people out of the ICUs, and this is a good step forward towards it. So, I mean, for us, I can go another 6 months a year if you need me to, like this. But it's just good to know that like you have the vaccine in your system at this point. But like I'm not gonna go out and just like run around a mall and like high five everyone, but like I
I
usually
might
do.
do that. It's a good idea.
But I think the biggest thing for me is going back to restaurants. Like I'll be admitted, like going and getting a meal because we're getting a coffee or something like that, sitting in somewhere. Because like takeaway's fun, but like your living room is pretty boring after a while. You know what I mean? Like you like that
Yeah,
atmosphere, that difference.
absolutely.
Some
Just
cinemas
people
would be
watching
nice. Yeah,
cinema.
yeah.
Um,
Um,
yeah, I think I told you a few episodes ago that we had gone to cinema
the
back
Italian movie.
in, gosh, when was that? Probably September. And there was like us and one other couple,
Yeah.
and it was cool, but also kind of weird and depressing.
Yeah, I get that.
I'm like, this place is going to go bankrupt if they're not supported by the government. So not great.
I was just thinking the other day about like, I know we've talked about this, but some of these businesses, oh my gosh, like they've just been holding on for dear life for almost like 18 months now, or coming up on
Yeah, I
a
was
year
gonna
and a
say,
half.
what's it like if you walk around downtown Vancouver or some shopping areas? Like, have you noticed more shops saying like for lease and boarded up? Because there's
Yeah,
quite a few more in the center here.
definitely. I mean, I don't go downtown Vancouver that often because I live outside, but in my neighborhoods, whenever I drive through, I've definitely noticed a lot of well-known establishments that have been around pretty much my entire life closing, that because they were renting properties and they've been closed. I've seen a lot of like little restaurants and cafes shut down, a lot of for lease signs. So it's a difficult time for a lot of people. I get it, but a lot of these businesses had never thought that this was going to happen, but you know, Canada's done a really poor job with like restrictions on, restrictions off, or being clear. So I think a lot of these restaurants opened when they was allowed, but then they had to close a
Mm.
couple weeks later. So I feel for them. So I mean, we're trying to support local businesses, but unfortunately, a lot of businesses have shut down, and I don't know if they'll come back or not. But I'm hoping, I'm hoping that we can kind of get things up and running again. And I'm like, I'll be the first one that goes out and goes boom, 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 like buy
Boom,
sushi from
boom.
here, here and there. But yeah, and in the Netherlands, similar story.
Yeah, similar story.
So
Um,
positive about that. No, I'm
I don't know.
joking.
I just yeah, I'm very eager to get vaccinated, and in theory, it's supposed to happen next month, but yeah, it's pretty slow. Pretty slow. What can you say? So let's distract everybody with a nice, super respectable story.
All right, let's do it. It's your week. Take the floor.
Well, it's not so much a story as it is an instruction manual, I
Okay.
think.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, because I think we touched on it a couple episodes ago. We were talking about cults and some micronations with Esperanto. There was a few countries that used Esperanto as its language, and so it got me thinking about how should you start a country? How do you go about starting a country?
Okay.
And so I thought I would walk our listeners through the steps you need to do in order to create a country.
Sure.
And I think that we're very well qualified to lead a discussion on this matter because, I mean, we don't have a track record of establishing countries, but we are scientists of the political variety.
Yeah.
don't know, don't know.
Sure.
That was eye rolling for
Yeah.
the listeners.
We've
It wasn't
visited.
audible.
Yeah, no, that's true. And we've visited a number of countries, so at least that's
We've been to
experience.
some countries, so we live in countries, so
That's
we
true.
know what countries do,
Yeah, that's
more
true.
or less.
We know how to spell
Um,
the word countries and
we can
country the
spell
same.
countries, although sometimes the plural is challenging, where to put the comma,
It is true. Yeah, it is
the
challenging.
apostrophe.
Apostrophe.
Um, so, there we go. So first of all,
Okay.
we need to understand some of the basic definitions and rules. And there's actually a treaty or a convention on what defines a country.
Yeah.
And it's named after the capital of Uruguay, which is, that's a hard one.
Yeah, I don't know.
Montevideo. I always struggle with pronunciation. It's Montevideo or Montevideo. It's the Convention on Rights and Duties of States.
Okay.
Do you know this one? Did you
No,
study international law?
probably.
Probably. Okay. Yeah. If you did, just don't tell anybody because yeah.
That was like 17 years ago, Dave. I totally forgot. But
Didn't you do a law degree, LLM, in something? Human
yeah,
rights.
in human rights, I probably studied that 12 years ago too. But
Oh man,
I know.
time flies, eh?
I know. If you didn't mention my alma mater, then I would have been 100% okay. But now you
Okay.
mentioned
Okay.
it. Now if they come for me, there's evidence.
I'm
Anyways,
sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm
We
just
can edit
messing.
this out.
No problem.
So they define what a country is,
Mhm.
and would you like to have a few guesses, or should you just let me have a go?
I'm taking notes. Just go for it. I like a professor. I'm just a student in the audience.
Okay. Okay. So there's a few things. You need to have a permanent population,
Okay.
which is kind of a strange definition, but I assume they mean like that your people don't
Citizenship.
like all of a sudden just move off to some other country and then you no longer have a population to govern.
Is there a number that's generally accepted as a permanent population?
I think you need more than one.
Oh, okay, cool. That's good.
There's, I don't know where it starts becoming a reasonable amount, but I think probably more than a family-sized amount would make sense. Because then you probably have a cult then.
That's not good.
That's just a cult. Then in terms of territory, it has to be defined.
Okay.
Which I guess, I mean, you have borders which are recognized by other states.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. I mean, what's a defined territory? Who defines it? You define it. But if you define your territory as around my neighborhood, the city of The Hague and the Dutch government wouldn't like that very much.
Yeah. I'm just thinking about like if it has to be internationally recognized, or what if it's recognized just by yourself or by your citizenship? Is it still considered a nation?
Okay. We're getting to that.
Okay.
So the next one is you have to have a government.
Cool.
And you could be the government. So, I mean, that's possible.
Yeah.
But it's quite taxing and time consuming to govern a nation on your own. So you probably need some help with that.
Yeah.
And your permanent population could help you.
Yeah.
And then quite importantly, you have to have the capacity to enter into relations with other states. It's kind of a strange, explanation there, but that's more to do with, I think, around recognition.
Because I think it's so funny you were saying this. I was just watching Black Panther earlier this evening.
Okay.
No relation like directly, but I don't. Have you seen the movie?
I have not.
Oh my God. Dave's never seen any. He doesn't like any of the superhero movies, but there is a state called Wakanda, which is where the Black Panther comes from, and it's a made-up African state. But they don't engage in any international relations with the outside world. But still, I mean, they're recognized as a country. But I was just relating it back to that. But interesting. So, like, other countries have to have to at least know that you exist, and yeah, that's cool. You're a country, but
it's a different one. I mean, it should be about having the capacity to have diplomatic relations.
Yeah. Okay. So you could do it if you wanted to. You could
do it, but then
you don't have.
It doesn't necessarily mean that they have to recognize you. It's just about having the capacity to do so.
I guess.
But in all intents and purposes, you need to be recognized, I think.
Okay.
And generally speaking, you need to be taken seriously by at least, 5, 10, 20 countries. I don't know what amount it is that you need, because some countries like Taiwan, it's a real challenge. Taiwan is not a UN country, right?
Yeah.
Because China says no.
Yeah, China says no.
And they're facing all sorts of troubles because China is now going around the world to countries that do recognize Taiwan and saying you should stop recognizing Taiwan because that's very bad for you, and we'll give you some money and invest in your country if you do recognize China. So that's a challenge.
Yeah, but I mean, countries like that, I mean, have troubled histories or very complicated in that they have some type of link to another country or another state. But I'm talking about if you and I found an island in the middle of the Pacific and we're like, this is going to be our country. Like, do we really need to have it recognized by other people? Because, like, what if we have no relations with all those other countries? I mean, people are welcome to come and visit, but we don't need them.
Well, no man is an island, as they say in France.
How timely. John Donne, right? Yeah.
So therefore, that probably would work for a little while, and then it would stop working. But we'll get to that, because let's now that we know the definition according to this convention.
Mm-hmm.
We can start working with it and seeing how that works for our own attempts to create a country.
Quick question on the convention.
Sure.
Has it been ratified by other countries? Some countries agree to it, or is it just one of those things that just...
I'm not sure if maybe Uruguay's just done it and no one else recognizes it.
The Montevideo Convention.
Yeah, some club. I think it has been adopted and recognized. It's in international law, but international law is just that. It's a lot of conventions, because international law is kind of a flaky thing, right?
Yeah.
It has to Yeah.
That I studied and I sort of remember that, like the convention stuff. But yeah, flaky is a very good word, because really, who's there to enforce it on top of
The United Nations? Ooh.
I guess that's who we've chosen to isolate in this episode. The
Yeah.
UN.
There goes my future career.
It's okay. You're fine.
It's fine. It's fine. Okay. So where do we start now? I think the best thing to do would be possibly just start off and declare yourself a country. Just say, hey, I'm starting a country, and you give it a name whenever you feel like it. And then maybe go through the next steps. Or you could go through the steps and then declare yourself a country. It's up to you. It could be like you just build it and they'll come, or you just announce it and people will flock to you and help you fulfill all the different criteria. I don't know.
You know what I think would be fun if it works with you is that as we go through the steps and you talk, can we build our own country, you and I, and we can add these little little things?
We'll brainstorm.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited. Okay.
No. So step one, I guess, is we need to have some land from which to govern, right?
Yeah.
So this is hard because a lot of the land is claimed and it's taken, right?
Totally. That seems to be the major reason for most problems around the world between
a lot of problems.
Yeah.
So what can we do? We could either conquer some vulnerable state and claim a little patch of land within a state.
Yeah.
And have is that an exclave? Enclave?
Enclave, right? Oh. I don't know, but I know it's a clave. It's some
sort of clave. And you could also go to Antarctica, which is sort of informally, carved out by different countries, but not really governed.
Is that right? I didn't know that. It's no one owns it.
Well, I think there's a convention which says, you can't just start making a city there. Various powers have like
research facilities,
minor research facilities / informal jurisdiction over elements of the territory.
Oh,
but
cool.
But it's mostly just scientific expeditions and
I like that
sort of thing.
I like that there's certain communal things that are like for all of humanity, because everyone wants to own something, and I just feel like, if I was, I'd rather, like I find that the Brits and like the colonial powers are always big on like trying to get land in the middle, like all over the world. If it was me, I'd rather just be like, just take things that I don't want. I just rather have a little bit and just like really, because it's weird. Like I think you'll talk, like we can get to it, but there's like colonies, or there's like this Commonwealth countries that are like in the middle of nowhere and have no relationship to like that country, but they still exist and they're still connected somehow. Like the Falkland Islands, I find really strange. Because they're so far away, But anyways, sorry, I digress.
Las Malvinas.
Yes.
Okay, that's the Argentine name for it. So there we go.
Yeah, I saw the Crown episode that was like there, right? They talked about it, didn't they?
They did.
Okay.
There was quite the thing for Thatcher to start a war to build a reputation. Yeah, so basically land is a challenge. So you touched on it earlier. You should probably go out to sea. It's easier in some ways, but also very challenging from an engineering perspective to take out some territory in the ocean. So this has been tried before.
Okay.
I think I mentioned there was Rose Island in the Adriatic.
Yep.
So some loopy Italians went out there in the 70s, I think it was, to establish a territory. And you can watch the Netflix movie, which is fantastic. And there was also the Principality of Sealand. Do you know that one?
No, where's that?
That's in the North Sea. So it was also a movie, a fantastic movie, where a disgruntled radio DJ was upset with the BBC broadcasting rules. I'll probably get corrected by Dr. Lewis on this, which are very restrictive for independent radio. And so he somehow made it to this abandoned military outpost in the North Sea.
No way.
And started broadcasting pirate radio from there. And he started beaming into the UK and having this pirate radio, and that caused all sorts of drama. And he declared it a sovereign nation.
Very cool.
Indeed. So that's the option. I think it's probably the best option.
Mhm.
Then you need to have some kind of government. So we'll have to create some rules for the country and write a constitution of some sort. So um, you could write up a national anthem while you're at it. Get a graphic designer on board to draw your flag and your coins. And
I thought you were going to say get a graphic designer for your constitution.
that could work too.
Well,
if you're doing it on the cheap, get them to do everything.
As scientists of politics, I've read my fair share of constitutions or charters and et cetera, et cetera.
Of course.
What are some of the main things that you need to have in a constitution, do you think, to make it that said document? I think your rights and freedoms for your people, how you're being governed.
Yeah, just like a mission statement, like a company has. Have a good time all the time.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that's my mission statement.
Have a good time all the time. Yeah.
It could be like Google's, like do no harm. I think it's the medical professions one.
Yeah, I think that's the oath, isn't it? The Hippocratic oath.
Hippocratic oath. I think Google also says that.
Do no harm. Yeah, that's true.
This Facebook's is move fast and break stuff. I think that was their initial one.
Oh,
so that's a pretty good one for a country as well. And then we'll just throw in like the 10 Commandments from the Bible.
Okay.
We'll combine like some Buddhist stuff, and a lot of the people who set up their own countries are like libertarians, so they don't really like having too many rules like this. So we'll try and keep it simple, I guess.
I feel like if you're going to start a country, you need. I find that like Rose Island and then like Pirate Radio, all these guys. Most of the time, like I think anyone who sets up their own country nowadays are pretty like 50% slacker at least, or 75% slacker. But I think you need one dude who kind of understands constitutions and law and stuff like that, just to help. You need like that guy who can come in and just kind of set it up, charge his retainer, and then get out of there. But you need a little bit of structure. But on a cool side note, I actually saw the Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, when I was in Washington D.C. at the museum, and it was pretty cool. Like especially for someone who's like into politics and history and stuff. I was like, wow, it was, it was very cool to look at. I don't know if you've seen any original texts anywhere around the world, but I find that stuff really cool and fascinating.
I've seen some stuff at the British Library and the British Museum.
Nice.
But it didn't inspire me to go off and make a country. It just said, okay, there it is. I read the caption, move on.
Do you think, can you change the Constitution? Can you update it in any countries, or are constitutions?
Well, I mean, the U.S. has like 7, 8, 9. They got multiple like amendments, don't they?
You got amendments.
They put like a footnote or appendix, and they have some kind of stuff at the back.
If we're going to use the American system, like my knowledge is somewhat limited, but I know that like to even make the slightest change on anything related to the Constitution, you need to go through like years and years and years of debate, and then like everyone needs to agree just to add that extra comma in or something. It's very, very difficult, I think, in the U.S. system to do anything regarded to the Constitution. But in Canada, my understanding was that it's a little bit easier, I think, but not as easy. I think there have been times where they've added things to the charter, or they've added things to the some of our documents that was like more inclusive for all people. But I don't know the U.S. system. I always hear it's a nightmare for anything.
Yeah, so we won't make it a nightmare for our country. We'll make it very easy to change and modify all the rules whenever people see fit.
Yeah, it'll be a Google Doc that's shared with everyone. So
Google Doc. That's a brilliant idea. Write that down.
Done. Got it.
All right. And then pick a language. I guess we should pick one that we speak, because that'd be problematic for governance if our people are speaking different languages.
Esperanto it is.
I think Esperanto, since we can pick it up in a few months, and that'll be fine.
Yeah.
And then the next problem we'll have is we need the permanent population. So if it's just the super respectable crew, that's 2 people, that's probably not good enough.
Yeah. Because
I think we need, and then we'll have a challenge persuading friends and family to join us. They'll have abandoned us at this point. They said, Tosh and Dave, you guys are crazy. Yeah. You guys have lost it. You guys have fun with your country, but we're not joining. We have our nice property in Canada and our rules and our whatever. So the thing is, we'll make a website, and
A
people will
website
be
for our country?
attracted.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, sure. Like a
Well,
website.
because we talked about it in the cult episode,
Oh,
and this does have elements of a cult, but it won't be. It'll be a country,
got it.
and
That should be in our
like my,
constitution. We are not a
we're not a
cult.
cult. We're not a cult.
Underlined.
Uh, exactly. It'll be underlined and in bold and in italics.
Yeah.
And so basically, as we said, the internet is a great thing. It brings together like-minded people from all over the world. So we'll get lots of free-spirited people who like shawarmas to come over to our country, and that will be our national dish, by the way, shawarma.
Okay. Yeah. In the constitution, I got it. I'm writing it.
It'll
Article
be,
2.
that, yeah, you're writing the Constitution as we speak. So I think that'll attract at least 10 people, and then that's a pretty permanent population. Also in the Constitution, once you've arrived in said country, they can't leave because we need to have them. It's going to be permanent, right?
That's sort of like against Article 2 that we're not a cult, or Article 1 we're not a cult, but we can make it work.
It'll be written in very small font. They won't know about it until.
But going back to the permanent population thing, is that couldn't you put it in your constitution or somewhat that like if you spend half the time of a year there or a certain number of days or months, it could.
I see you're drawing on some very good knowledge in here. You would do well to work for my country.
Okay.
No, that's actually write that down, because that's a great thing. You could have an itinerant population of freelancers, remote workers, COVID-friendly location. So they could get citizenship and residency as long as they committed to being present for 180 days.
Sounds fair.
On our territory, and invested in real estate and Bitcoin into the economy.
Is that our national currency, Bitcoin?
Yes. So next point. Very, very good. So any viable country, it's not written in the Montevideo Convention, but it needs a functioning economy, right? It won't last very long if you can't fund the governance, right? So
that's true. But are we
tourism
going? Tourism. Sorry, yeah, tourism. That's a sector, right?
It's a sector. You'll get a lot of curious people poking around and wondering what's going on in our country, so they'll come around. That's some good hard currency to come in. We'll open it up to money laundering.
Great. Let me make some amendments in the Constitution for that. Okay.
Yeah, that's another one to write in small font.
Yeah.
And various other shady people, and we will accept all forms of cryptocurrency, from Dogecoin to Bitcoin to
the moon, right? Yeah.
To the moon, whatever.
So here's a question for you, Dave. Do you think that traditional forms or modern day forms of finance are still existing in our country? Do we need to have money? Could we have other forms of economy other than currency or money? Could we have a bartering system? Could we have trading instead of actual coin?
Everything is accepted.
Oh, okay. So it's very like Visa, Amex, MasterCard, bartering, negotiation.
It's like supercharged capitalism, but also total chaos. Because wouldn't that amount to some form of bartering in the end, if everything is a financial instrument and it's used as a medium of exchange in a country? That's chaos, right?
Yeah, that's like capitalistic chaos. Like that's I think what would happen, that's like a casino when they first start off and you don't really plan out a casino really well, and like you just accept everything and you start betting. Eventually the government will just kind of implode, because I don't think we'll have that much of an income. I think money wouldn't be tracked properly in whatever sense there is. Some guy would be like,
at least we had fun while it lasted, right?
That's true. Yeah. What was the motto of the country?
Have a good time most of the time until
yeah. I think if it eventually got to a point where you just accept anything, some guy would pay for like a computer with like a coffee, and the other guy would pay with money, and then like that means coffee and money would be equivalent, right? $1,000 worth of coffee would be like 10 beans or whatever it is. We got to think out the economy. We got to choose one, I think, Dave, whether it's Dogecoin or bartering or actual currency. But if we anyways, I
think we could get a pretty good economy going with money laundering and tourism.
We need banks for that, right? So that also is important.
But we would establish a bank of our own, and we couldn't use US dollars, because that would get the attention of the government in a very bad way.
Sure, we make our own currency up.
We would operate
Monopoly money.
separate from monopoly money. Right, what's next? So that's pretty good. I think we've got most of the things going there. And then the biggest challenge is declaring ourselves a country, and then waiting for the reaction, like, what's the international response going to be to our we need a name for the country. We haven't named it, whatever. Super respectable land.
Yeah. Let's call it Americano.
The options.
Super Americano.
Americano.
Super Americano. I like that.
Super Americano. So that is a challenge, because either they'll just ignore us and say, you morons, like, just come home, David and Tosh. You just, there's shelter and nice stuff waiting for you back in Canada and the Netherlands. Just stop this nonsense.
Yeah.
But if we say no, continue on this fight forevermore.
Yeah.
Then you might start getting some attention from other countries. It's probably bad attention. They'll probably send in some army to poke around and make sure that you're not doing anything terribly awful.
Yeah. Do we have a military in our country? Is that necessary to be a nation state, or not really?
It's not necessary, but it's recommended.
It's optional. Yeah.
Because from what I understand, Costa Rica doesn't have a army.
Yeah.
Which I find implausible. They must have something, just an army, but with a different name, like the peace forces. And
but most countries have some type of security services, whether internal or external, right, to keep law.
Yeah, you just outsource it to like
Bridgewater.
Bridgewater. So I don't know. I think recognition is a challenge. So I think the best thing would be to target other similar struggling micronations, or
which is what happens.
Self-determination movements. So we could go after Somaliland. We could go to the Kurds, the
little islands,
Palestinians, and say, solidarity. We'll recognize you if you recognize us.
Yeah, I was just, when you were saying the recognition part, I was kind of like, those people that are like, I don't really care what other people think, I just care about what I think. We could also be like that, where we just don't care what other people. Maybe we don't want to go to the meetings.
But the reality is, everyone cares what everyone else thinks. The people who say that, they care.
True that.
So we have to just get some attention where we can get it, right? Any love is good love, and we'll go for the love of similar downtrodden people.
Yeah.
And hopefully that builds some sort of good recognition and some sort of quasi-legitimacy.
Yeah.
Which will help trade. We'll establish trade relations with those people.
What are we trading? All that money that we've laundered?
Trading good vibes, man.
Well played, my friend. Well played.
Positive vibes. Maybe the national anthem could be Good Vibrations. That's like a happy song, right?
It's a very happy song. And it goes into our motto, right? So
who would invade a country like that? That's just mean. So if we got invaded over such a positive vibe, then similar nice countries like Canada and Iceland and the Nordic countries would come to our defense, because they don't like seeing good people being hurt.
Let them be. Let them have a good time. They're not hurting anyone. That's pretty much what they'll say.
Absolutely. Right? So that's what we'll do, right?
Yeah, that's cool. Please. Are there any other points that we need for a country?
No, I think we've covered it. I'm just going to name a couple examples of recent micronations, just to inspire us and our listeners.
Are micronations just because of their geography, that they're small, or is it just because they're new, they're not being recognized yet?
All of the above.
All of the above.
It's a big problem.
Because there's no land left, right? To create a big country, you just have little islands pretty much now. Or if you just seized a country, like you said, but that doesn't ever happen anymore. I mean, to create.
But it's kind of like what we talked about with Esperanto. How does a word become a word? They say, the etymology, it's linked to Latin, but then Latin, they just made grunting noises, or cavemen made grunting noises, and that was the word, and then it evolved from there, right? So same thing with a country. Like, how did Spain become Spain, or Bangladesh?
I feel like Dr. Lewis is going to highlight the fact that Latin wasn't just grunting noises. I feel like that was a little later in the timeline.
Well, he's already stopped listening because he's heard his son say something so moronic. But here we go.
Anyways.
So if you're still with us, Dr. Lewis, here we go. Here's some two micronations for you.
I'm excited to see if I recognize any of these.
So one is the Republic of Minerva.
Yes, I have heard of it.
And you've heard of it?
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's all.
This is these are the two ones I'm going to cite are again libertarians who've kind of lost the plot a little bit. So this is one that was done in the 70s. It was reclaimed land of an artificial island.
Okay.
In the South Pacific. So
Cool.
the guy who did it was an American real estate millionaire. He had loads of money.
Tons of money.
His name was Michael Oliver. And he wanted to create a society with no tax, welfare, any kind of economic intervention whatsoever.
Yeah.
And he had tons of money to do this. So he spent millions of dollars, I think, reclaiming the land and then saying, here we are. But this really ruffled some feathers of the neighboring states of like Tonga and Vanuatu and all these places. So they knocked on the door of like New Zealand and Australia, their big brother friends, and said, hey, like what's the deal here? You got to help us out. And so within the same year, I think Tonga like sent in a few soldiers to say like, stop this nonsense. This is our land now. So Tonga now has the Republic of Minerva.
Yeah.
So this guy actually served to increase the land mass of Tonga because he spent millions of dollars building artificial land, and Tonga just took it.
Oh my gosh, I didn't know that.
So that's a risk. That's a risk if we create a country, just adding to land mass of another country.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the final one is the Free Republic of Liberland.
I've never heard of that one.
This is quite a unique one. I think it's quite cool. It's in a landmass. It's not like a speck of island somewhere in the Pacific. It's an uninhabited parcel of disputed land between Croatia and Serbia.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah. So, of course, there's been these disputes in the Balkans for some time. And lost in this struggle is Liberland. It's been undecided. They couldn't figure out what to do with it. And this guy just came in and said, it's a country now. It's mine.
Yeah.
It was proclaimed, it's probably the most recent micronation, I think, 2015.
So just a couple years ago, yeah.
Yeah, a few years ago. Czech libertarian Vis Jedlica. It's 7 square kilometers. It's about the size of Gibraltar.
Okay. Oh, it's sizable still. Like, I mean, it's
sizable, indeed. Yeah. And he has managed to establish relations with Somaliland.
No way, huh?
Yeah, they recognized him, so that's quite encouraging for him. The problem is there's no infrastructure whatsoever, and it lies on a floodplain, so it's very prone to not being a country.
Yeah,
from time to time.
Yeah, interesting. That one sounds. I'm going to read about that one because I was just thinking that like I'm trying to think about land like that's been undisputed or maybe not claimed around the world, and I think it's shrinking size. Like there's not a lot of land that hasn't been claimed by someone yet. I think it's probably those little islands that are in the middle of nowhere, right?
Another option is I read about you have to focus on these like disputed territories where it hasn't been adjudicated upon. So go to like Egypt and Sudan. I think they've got a border dispute. You can go in there.
Really?
It's pretty inhospitable territory though. Yeah. So
it'd be hard to bring other people, convince them to come.
Yeah, but good shawarma is there, I think.
That's very important. I was just thinking while you're talking about it, I mean, like making a country obviously is very difficult to do, but a lot of people kind of buy islands and just live in their own ways, or they kind of like live in their houses or have little like cabins. And so with lots of land, so it's not your own country, but it's your own system. Like it's your own property where you can do whatever you want.
Yeah. Right? Like Richard Branson has his place. Which
Necker Island.
I think it's Necker Island. I'm not sure.
Oh, Necker. Okay. In the British Virgin Islands, right?
But it burned down. It nearly, like the whole thing nearly collapsed a few years ago. But he could pretty much call that a country, I think, at this point.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, like you're still technically under the British Virgin Islands, but like I guess you could do whatever you wanted on your country as long as it didn't violate BVI law or whatever it was. But
Yeah.
you kind of like, I think there are stories of other people who have bought towns and then just did whatever they wanted in the town. A lot of celebrities have little places here and there. I if I mean, like, in all seriousness, if I created I think it would be a really fascinating case study to create your own little entity and just to build it, even theoretically, because like you could really see some of the problems we have around the world and see ways you could fix it from the get-go, right? Like, I think more in terms of implementation of policy as opposed to the actual theory of policies of constitutions, because I find most constitutions are really well written and they cover what you're supposed to, but they're just not implemented well. I don't know if you
Yeah. So
disagree.
let's solve this. It's kind of like starting a company. It's like you see other companies being run, you think I can do that better.
Yeah.
So and
Well, I
then
don't know
you
if I
learn
can
from
do it
doing
better.
that how to improve and
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I mean, it wouldn't hurt to try, right? So if any super respectable listeners out there like what they're hearing, then write us a message, get in touch on all the social media platforms, and we'll talk it over. We'll think about how to start some sort of country.
Yeah. I mean, I like the things you said earlier throughout the program about have fun. All the what was it? What was the
Have a
tagline?
good time all the time.
Yeah. And then shawarmas and national anthems. Is this the good vibration?
I think
Which we need to get the license from Mark Wahlberg for that, and then we could just have fun all the time. But would have to work on the economy. I felt like that's something, the bartering system or the economy system, we need to kind of flush out a little bit. And
money laundering is a victimless crime, so that's fine.
yeah, that's cool. Infrastructure. One. I know it's not related to country building, but urban planning is always something I've been fascinated on. So I mean, we definitely need to really pay attention to how we build. Because have you ever been in a city and you're like, the city has poorly built, or like these roads are horrible, or whatever? So like in our little neck of the woods of Super Americana, we got to make sure that like people can get from place to place really
No,
conveniently. No,
no,
no.
no cars, no roads, because that makes it easy to invade.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So
All by foot.
we'd have bike lanes at most, and
Sure.
that's hard for to send the tanks in on that.
Have you ever
And
been to an island where there's no cars? I've been to like a couple, and it's
I've been to Istanbul. There's one which is quite cool, Princess
Princess
Island.
Islands. Yeah, I went to that
Yeah.
one, and then it was one of the islands. It was Adalar, I think it's a big island. I
Hmm.
went to another place where it was just horses. No, in Bali. No, not in Bali, in Indonesia. And there's a peacefulness about it, not seeing cars and transportation and being. But like if you have really big islands, it's really hard. Like you're like I'm gonna walk to the other side of the island. I'll see you in 5 days. So like
Yeah,
it can be
yeah, exactly.
troubling.
Well, we'll have to research this a bit more, but I think we have a good framework the foundation to start from for the country.
Great.
So we'll have to do some scanning on Google Maps, scout out some good locations, some
And
good real estate.
one of the most important things is that we'd have to relocate there to broadcast our podcast from. That'll be our HQ for the podcast, right?
Yes, that is to be discussed with our significant others, all in due course.
You do the first 180 days, and then I'll do the second 180 days.
There we go.
So we both maintain our residency and our permanent our citizenship. But we
I think
also
it's
have a
important that the
connection.
rulers of super respectable land are present on the territory at some point.
Yeah,
So yes,
and I think we get. I mean, yeah, equality for all, but I mean, we'll get a couple extra
we'll get a
little
bit more quality.
quality, and that's
Yeah,
that's the reason most countries fail is because power
it's
gets to
like
the head.
you read Animal Farm, right? That book tells
Sure.
you all you need to know about running a country and governance.
That'll be our national book. That'll be the book
It'll
for
be our book.
all citizens. Well, Dave,
Exactly.
I'm fascinated. I think it was a very interesting topic. I be honest, I thought about it multiple times about what it's
Yeah.
like to start your own country. But
Yeah.
one day in 300, 400 years, we'll have our Declaration of Independence or our Constitution, and people will frame it and keep it in the museum in the island of
And it's important to remember it's not a cult.
Yeah,
It's our charismatic leadership will be benevolent and peaceful.
Article 1. We are not a
Article
cult.
1.
There you
We're
go.
not a cult.
Anyways, Dave, thank you so much. Very fascinating. We'll
You're
post
most
some stuff.
welcome.
We'll post some stuff up on as links and stuff to some of that
Some
interesting stuff,
instructions.
some of the instructions slash some of the two countries that are actually micronations. And yeah, comment. Let us know what you think. And then be safe, everyone. Thank you for
Be
listening.
safe and have a good time.
And have a good time all the time.
All the time.
Ciao.
Arrivederci.